The void between stars rarely felt cold to Commander Krell of the Imperial Stellar Reconnaissance, but something about this particular solar system sent an unexpected shiver through the bio-augmented neural interfaces of his command chair. The Void Razor, a sleek reconnaissance vessel that had mapped thousands of star systems, now hung motionless near the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. Earth, a blue-green orb that looked deceptively peaceful, spinning in the vast darkness of space. Krell's sensory arrays swept across the planet's surface, collecting terabytes of data with each microsecond. To the Imperial scanning systems, it was just another potential conquest, another civilization to be categorized, and if necessary, subjugated. What Krell didn't see was the web of human awareness already tracking his every move. In a nondescript server farm nestled in the rolling hills outside Silicon Valley, Maya Rodriguez leaned back in her chair, fingers dancing across multiple holographic displays. At 28, she was a legend in cybersecurity circles, the kind of programmer governments both feared and secretly courted. Her current job with a multinational tech consortium was officially about network security. Unofficially, she was part of a global early warning system that most of the world didn't even know existed. The first anomaly appeared at 3:47 Pacific Standard Time. Most monitoring systems would have missed it. A quantum-level perturbation in the background radiation, a microscopic distortion in the electromagnetic spectrum that lasted less than a femtosecond. But Maya's custom-built detection algorithm, affectionately named Oumuamua, after the first known interstellar object detected in the solar system, caught the signal. "Holy shit," she whispered, her dark eyes reflecting a cascade of rapidly changing data streams. Within moments, a secure communication channel opened. On the other end was Dr. Elena Petrova, the lead scientist of a clandestine international research group that had been preparing for the possibility of extraterrestrial contact for decades. Their work was funded by a consortium of governments and private organizations that understood one fundamental truth: humanity needed to be ready. "We have contact," Maya typed, her fingers moving with practiced speed. Aboard the Void Razor, Commander Krell began the standard Imperial First Contact protocol. A series of passive scans would map the planet's technological capabilities, population centers, and potential resistance factors. It was a procedure he had performed countless times across the galaxy. Civilizations typically fell into predictable categories: primitive and easily conquered, moderately advanced and quickly overwhelmed, or rare outliers that might require more sophisticated pacification strategies. Humanity would be another data point, another conquest. He was wrong. The moment the Imperial scanning systems touched Earth's networks, something unprecedented happened. Instead of a single point of resistance, the scan encountered a distributed adaptive network that seemed to flow around the Imperial technology like water around a stone. Firewalls transformed, data streams redirected, quantum encryption keys generated and discarded in milliseconds. Maya Rodriguez wasn't just defending. She was studying. Each Imperial scan became an opportunity. Advanced machine learning algorithms dissected the alien technology, creating models, understanding patterns. What should have been a simple reconnaissance became a comprehensive intelligence-gathering operation, with humanity as the hunter, not the hunted. In underground command centers, in university research labs, in government facilities across the globe, teams began to mobilize. The first truly global response was taking shape, a unified human effort that transcended traditional boundaries of nation, culture, and ideology. Commander Krell would later recall this moment as the first indication that something was different about this planet. The scanning algorithms returned incomplete data, anomalous readings that made no sense within the Imperial standard models. Something was watching back. Something was learning. Humanity had just entered the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. In the vast archives of the Imperial Stellar Command, humanity was nothing more than a footnote, a classification buried deep within billions of petabytes of xenoanthropological data. The Imperial Knowledge Repository was more than a database. It was a living network of quantum-linked information processors that had cataloged thousands of civilizations across multiple galaxies. Dr. Vrenax, chief xenorchaeologist of the Imperial Research Division, reviewed the preliminary files on Earth with the detached curiosity of a scientist who believed he had seen every possible variation of intelligent life. His tentacle-like appendages manipulated holographic displays, parsing through centuries of human history with clinical precision. Fascinating, he muttered to himself, his multi-chambered respiratory system releasing a soft, contemplative whistle. The human data presented a paradox: endless conflicts, rapid technological jumps, periods of devastating destruction followed by unprecedented creation. Where other civilizations would have collapsed, humans seemed to thrive on chaos. What Dr. Vrenax couldn't understand was the fundamental human capacity for reinvention. Meanwhile, in a secure facility beneath the Swiss Alps, the Global Stellar Response Council convened its first full meeting. Representatives from every continent gathered, not as separate nations, but as a unified human front. Military strategists, quantum physicists, linguists, cybersecurity experts, and diplomatic pioneers sat around a circular table that was simultaneously a communication hub, a defense coordination center, and a symbol of unprecedented global unity. Dr. Elena Petrova, who had first been alerted by Maya Rodriguez's detection system, presented their initial findings. "They've been watching us," she began, her Russian accent cutting through the tense silence. "But they don't understand us." A holographic display flickered to life, showing the incomplete Imperial scans intercepted by their networks. Each scan was like an incomplete puzzle, with human adaptive networks constantly shifting, redirecting, transforming the incoming data. General Michael Chen from the United States Defense Intelligence Agency leaned forward. "They're collecting information, but we're the ones truly learning." The room was a microcosm of human potential. A Brazilian quantum computing expert sat next to a Nigerian diplomatic strategist. An Australian communications specialist discussed network defense with a Chinese artificial intelligence researcher. Traditional geopolitical boundaries had dissolved in the face of a greater challenge. Back on the Void Razor, Commander Krell prepared his initial report to Imperial Stellar Command. His analysis was a masterpiece of imperial bureaucratic dismissal, a document that would become a legendary example of catastrophic misunderstanding. Planetary civilization, primitive technological development, minimal interstellar capabilities, significant internal conflicts. Recommendation: Standard Pacification Protocol. Estimated resistance duration: 72 standard orbital cycles. He had no idea how wrong he would be. The Imperial Xenorchivists believed their comprehensive data meant complete understanding. They saw human history as a series of disconnected conflicts, technological missteps, and social failures. What they missed was the underlying current: human resilience, the ability to transform adversity into opportunity. They saw wars. Humans saw evolution. They saw chaos. Humans saw adaptation. They saw a species to be conquered. Humans saw a challenge to be overcome. In the quantum encrypted communication channels that now spanned the globe, a new strategy was taking shape. This wouldn't be a traditional defense. This would be a comprehensive reimagining of first contact, with humanity setting the terms of engagement. The knowledge trap was set, and the Imperium had no idea it was already caught. The moment of first contact was nothing like anyone had predicted. 53 Imperial warships materialized simultaneously above Earth's major population centers, a display of overwhelming force that had subjugated thousands of civilizations across the galaxy. Each vessel was a marvel of destructive engineering, capable of reducing entire continents to radioactive dust in milliseconds. In New York, the first energy weapon powered up. Commander Krell watched from the bridge of the primary assault vessel, his neural interfaces running standard pacification protocols. Millions of calculations processed in fractions of a second. Targeting systems locked. Destruction protocols initialized. He never saw it coming. The first energy blast, a weapon that had obliterated defensive systems on 100 worlds, simply disappeared. A network of experimental quantum deflection satellites, developed through a secret collaboration between researchers in Tokyo, Sao Paulo, and Cambridge, absorbed and redirected the massive energy discharge. What should have been a city-destroying blast became a spectacular light show that illuminated the pre-dawn sky. Maya Rodriguez watched from her command center, a ghost of a smile playing across her lips. Target acquired. She whispered into her communication link. Redirecting. The Imperial Battle Group found themselves facing something completely unprecedented. Their weapons were being studied in real time. Their communication frequencies were being mapped. Their very technological signatures were being analyzed and countered faster than their own systems could adapt. In Beijing, a team of quantum computing experts had been preparing for this moment for years. Dr. Lai Wei, a brilliant physicist who had spent a decade developing adaptive defense networks, now saw her life's work come to fruition. Her system wasn't just defending. It was learning, evolving with each microsecond of alien contact. Quantum entanglement network at 98% efficiency, she reported to the Global Stellar Response Council. We're reading their entire technological signature. The Imperial Communications Network began to experience inexplicable disruptions. Encrypted channels became permeable. Weapon targeting systems started to drift. What should have been a straightforward pacification began to look like something else entirely. Commander Krell's neural interfaces began to malfunction. Targeting data became corrupted. Weapon systems showed impossible readings. For the first time in his career, he experienced something close to fear. Aboard the Void Razor, panic began to spread. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. In Sao Paulo, a team of researchers led by Dr. Ramirez completed the final calibration of an experimental energy redirection system. Their technology, developed through years of classified research, could not just defend against energy weapons, it could turn them into something else entirely. The second Imperial energy blast met a complex quantum field that didn't just absorb the energy. It transformed it. The blast became a communication signal. A message. We are here. We are watching. We are not what you expected. Across the globe, humanity watched and waited. This was more than a defense. This was a statement. The first strike had failed, and humanity was just getting started. The Imperial weapon fragment arrived at the Joint Advanced Research Facility in Nevada precisely 17 hours after the failed first strike. It wasn't a gift or a surrender. It was an accident of war, a piece of technology that had been caught in the quantum redirection field during the initial attack. Dr. Elena Petrova carefully placed the fragment under a multispectral analysis array that would have made most research facilities look like children's science projects. Around her, a team of the world's most brilliant minds worked with a single purpose: understanding, then surpassing. It's not just a weapon, she muttered, her fingers tracing holographic data streams. It's a message. The fragment was alive in a way no human technology had ever been. Quantum-linked neural networks ran through its molecular structure, adaptive algorithms that could rewrite themselves in milliseconds. The Imperial technology wasn't just advanced, it was almost organic. Maya Rodriguez stood in a nearby control room, her custom-built quantum decryption systems working overtime. Each line of alien code became an opportunity, each encrypted network a puzzle waiting to be solved. We're not just reverse engineering, she explained to the international research team. We're having a conversation with technology that doesn't know it's talking to us. Across the globe, similar research centers emerged. A lab in Bangalore decoded communication protocols. A research station in Antarctica discovered new principles of quantum entanglement. A team in Buenos Aires developed adaptive materials that could mimic and then improve upon Imperial defensive technologies. This wasn't just research. This was transformation. Dr. Lai Wei from the Beijing Quantum Research Institute made the first breakthrough. The Imperial weapons adaptive systems, designed to be unbeatable, had a fundamental flaw. They assumed a hierarchical approach to problem solving. Human systems were different, chaotic, unpredictable. Their strength is their weakness, she reported to the Global Stellar Response Council. They optimize. We innovate. Within weeks, the first human-developed quantum communication network emerged. It wasn't a copy of Imperial technology. It was something entirely new, a system that could learn, adapt, and transform faster than any predetermined algorithm could predict. Commander Krell received the first reports from the Imperial Research Division. The language of the report was clinical, but underneath ran a current of something close to fear. Subject civilization demonstrates unprecedented technological adaptation. The report read, recommended comprehensive reevaluation of standard contact protocols. In the Nevada facility, Dr. Petrova watched as the alien weapon fragment began to reshape itself under their analysis. Not breaking, not resisting, participating. We're not just studying their technology, she told Maya. We're having a dialogue with it. The Imperial Stellar Command had believed they were sending a weapon of conquest. Instead, they had delivered the key to their own potential obsolescence. Humanity wasn't just defending. They were evolving. And they were just getting started. The Imperial Psychological Warfare Division had perfected their craft across 1,000 conquered civilizations. Their mimetic weapons could shatter societies, break collective will, and reduce populations to compliant shadows within solar cycles. They approached humanity with the same calculated precision that had crushed countless worlds before. They never saw the joke coming. It started with a meme. A street artist in Brooklyn, Marcos Rodriguez, painted a massive wall depicting the failed Imperial attack. But this wasn't just art. It was a communication node, a quantum-encrypted message board disguised as graffiti. Within hours, the image went viral globally, each pixel containing layers of encrypted information that danced around Imperial monitoring systems. The meme showed the alien warships as comically confused robots, their weapons transformed into oversized rubber chickens. Underneath in bold letters, "We'll see you mean to Earth. Prepare to be confused." Commander Krell received the first psychological warfare reports with mounting disbelief. Human resistance wasn't just technological. It was cultural, adaptive, unpredictable. In Mumbai, a comedian named Priya Sharma released a stand-up special that became a global phenomenon. Her hour-long set dissected the alien invasion with such razor-sharp wit that it became a form of psychological warfare in itself. She broke down the Imperial attack into a series of absurd observations that simultaneously mocked the invaders and united humanity. They thought we'd be scared. She asked a packed stadium. We've survived climate change, social media, and reality television. An alien invasion is just another Tuesday for us. The special was more than comedy. It was a rallying cry. Global media transformed the alien threat into a unifying force. News networks that had once competed now shared resources. Artists, musicians, writers created content that turned fear into defiance. A K-pop group released a music video that was simultaneously a cultural statement and an encrypted communication network. A Brazilian telenovela reimagined the invasion as a story of human resilience. The Imperial psychological warfare teams watched in growing horror. Their carefully constructed mimetic weapons, designed to create fear, doubt, and division, were being transformed. Humanity didn't just resist. They weaponized creativity. Dr. Elena Petrova understood the deeper strategy. They're trying to break our spirit, she explained to the Global Stellar Response Council. But they don't understand that our spirit is our greatest weapon. A global crowdsourcing project emerged. Millions of humans contributed to a massive, distributed intelligence network. Every meme, every piece of art, every joke became a node of resistance. The Imperial monitoring systems couldn't distinguish between cultural expression and strategic communication. In the Imperial Stellar Command, senior strategists began to experience something unprecedented: confusion. Their psychological models, which had predicted human collapse, instead showed increasing unity. Population stress levels didn't decrease. They transformed. Fear became determination. Uncertainty became creativity. Marcos Rodriguez's wall in Brooklyn became a global symbol, not of resistance, but of something more profound. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were having fun doing it. The human counteroffensive began not with a weapon, but with a chess move. Dr. Aria Chen, a grandmaster who had spent her career studying complex strategic systems, stood at the holographic war room beneath the Swiss Alps. Surrounding her were experts from disciplines that would never have collaborated before the invasion. A game theory professor, a quantum computing specialist, a retired naval strategist, and a machine learning pioneer. They think in linear systems, Dr. Chen explained, her fingers manipulating a three-dimensional strategic projection. We think in possibilities. The first strike was economic. Humanity had spent decades developing interconnected global financial systems. Now those same networks became weapons. Quantum encrypted algorithms began to infiltrate imperial economic infrastructures. Not to destroy, but to understand, to disrupt, to reimagine. Financial nodes that had supported imperial expansion for millennia suddenly became unpredictable. Trade routes shifted. Communication channels became unreliable. The imperial economic network, which had seemed as solid as bedrock, began to develop microscopic fractures. Commander Krell received the first reports with a growing sense of unreality. Their economic systems had been stable for thousands of years. Civilizations rose and fell, but the imperial economic network remained constant. Until now. In orbit around Jupiter, a team of researchers led by Dr. Elena Petrova launched the first true asymmetric technological assault. They didn't attack imperial communication networks. They transformed them. Each intercepted imperial communication became an opportunity. Quantum adaptive algorithms that could reshape themselves faster than the imperial systems could detect began to create a parallel information network. Not a copy. Not a mirror. Something entirely new. Maya Rodriguez watched from her command center, a subtle smile playing across her lips. We're not just fighting, she told her team. We're rewriting the rules of engagement. The human offensive targeted the imperial weakness, their fundamental belief in predictability. Every standard operating procedure became a potential point of vulnerability. Military supply chains began to experience inexplicable disruptions. Communication protocols developed unexpected noise. Navigation systems in imperial vessels started to drift microscopically. A team in Buenos Aires developed adaptive camouflage technology that could reshape itself faster than imperial targeting systems could lock on. Researchers in Nairobi created communication protocols that existed in quantum superposition, simultaneously present and not present. The Imperial Stellar Command began to experience something close to panic. This wasn't a traditional war. This was a comprehensive reimagining of conflict itself. Commander Krell's neural interfaces began to receive conflicting data streams. Strategic projections that had been reliable for centuries became nonsensical. Invasion protocols that had worked on 1,000 worlds failed spectacularly. They're not just defending, a senior Imperial strategist reported. They're playing a game we don't even understand. Dr. Aria Chen looked at the holographic display, watching as human strategy reshaped the conflict in real time. Checkmate, she whispered. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were reinventing the very concept of conflict. The Imperial Stellar Command had never known true uncertainty. For millennia, their system of governance had been as immutable as the fundamental forces of physics. Hierarchies were absolute. Conquest was inevitable. Resistance was a mathematical improbability. Humanity changed everything. In the central governance chamber of the Imperial throne world, a heated debate erupted. The holographic displays flickered with intercepted human communications, each more incomprehensible than the last. Senior strategists, politicians, and military commanders found themselves in unprecedented territory. High Counselors Rentak, the oldest living member of the Imperial High Council, watched the chaos with a mixture of fascination and growing dread. His tentacle-like appendages moved restlessly across the control interfaces, searching for patterns that no longer existed. "We are experiencing a fundamental systems failure," reported Analyst Prime Vornak, his voice a mixture of clinical observation and barely contained panic. "The human response defies all known strategic models." The chamber split into three distinct factions. The annihilationists believed in total destruction. Led by military commander Krell's direct superior, they advocated for the complete erasure of Earth, not just as a strategic move, but as a psychological statement. "Obliteration is the only response to this level of disruption," General Xar proclaimed, his holographic image crackling with suppressed rage. The studiers represented a more academic approach. They saw humanity not as a threat, but as the most fascinating civilization they had ever encountered. Chief researcher Dr. Vrenax argued passionately for comprehensive study. "They are not just a species," he insisted. "They are a new paradigm of existence." The negotiators were the smallest but most dangerous group. They recognized something the others missed. Humanity represented more than a military challenge. They were a potential evolutionary leap in galactic civilization. "We cannot destroy them," argued diplomatic strategist Elenra. "We must understand them." Commander Krell's continuous reports became a source of increasing tension. His initial dismissive assessment had transformed into something more nuanced. The last transmission highlighted the true depth of human unpredictability. "They do not fight like any civilization we have encountered. Their resistance is not linear. It is adaptive, cultural, quantum." The Imperial communication networks, once a marvel of stability, began to experience inexplicable disruptions. Information flows became unpredictable. Strategic projections collapsed. On the throne world, the very foundations of Imperial civilization began to crack. Zrentok, who had witnessed the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations, recognized the signs. This was more than a military challenge. This was a fundamental reimagining of existence. "We are no longer the authors of our own story," he said quietly, a statement that would have been heresy mere solar cycles ago. The human strategy was becoming clear. They weren't just resisting. They were fundamentally challenging the Imperial understanding of civilization itself. Conflict, adaptation, evolution. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. The final meeting was not a war council. It was not a surrender. It was a conversation. Maya Rodriguez stood before the Imperial Stellar Council, a holographic projection that connected multiple star systems. Behind her, a diverse team of human representatives, scientists, diplomats, artists, military strategists, represented something far more profound than any single nation or ideology. "We're not here to conquer," Maya began, her voice calm and clear. "We're here to propose something entirely new." The Imperial Chamber fell silent. High Counselor Zrentok, who had once commanded fleets that had subjugated entire civilizations, now listened with a sense of anticipation he had never known before. The human proposal was nothing like a traditional diplomatic engagement. It was a comprehensive reimagining of galactic interaction. Not a treaty, not a surrender, but an invitation to a different kind of existence. Humanity proposed a network, not of conquest, but of mutual exploration. A system where technological and cultural exchange would replace subjugation, where diversity was seen as strength, not a weakness to be homogenized. Dr. Elena Petrova presented the technological frameworks. Each slide was a revelation. Adaptive communication protocols, quantum-linked cultural exchange networks, systems of governance that could evolve in real time. The Imperial strategists saw something they had never encountered, a civilization that didn't seek to replace, but to collaborate. Commander Krell, who had led the initial attack, now understood the true nature of the encounter. This wasn't a war. This was an evolution. The human delegation brought more than technological proposals. They brought art, music, literature, philosophical frameworks that challenged everything the imperial civilization had believed about intelligence, cooperation, and existence. A musician from Rio de Janeiro played an instrument that translated emotional states into sound waves. A quantum physicist from Nairobi demonstrated communication protocols that could bridge not just language, but entire modes of perception. A poet from Beijing presented a linguistic framework that could describe concepts previously thought untranslatable. Zrentok realized something profound. Humanity wasn't just a civilization. They were a living, breathing concept of possibility. The proposal was elegant in its simplicity. Join us, not as conquerors, not as conquered, but as explorers, as learners, as partners. The imperial systems, which had been built on hierarchy and control, began to reconfigure. Not through force, but through a kind of mutual understanding that defied previous computational models. "We are not asking you to become like us," Maya said in her final statement. "We are asking you to become something neither of us has yet imagined." The transformation was not instantaneous. It was a process, a conversation that would span generations. But in that moment, something fundamental changed. The Galactic Empire, which had feared nothing for millennia, now understood the most powerful force in the universe, the potential of the unknown. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and everything would be different now.